Thanks a lot for joining, everyone. As Craig said, it's kind of an SEO 101, but I focused it as much as I can on startups as well. So what I'm going to do is go through, firstly, an introduction to search engine optimization at the broad level, talk about how search engine algorithms work, because I find it gives you a good basis. If you understand how they work, it allows you to understand how to optimize for them. And it's not just all keywords, or it's not just all link building. There are different elements that will work for different websites, depending on the stage you're at and depending on the amount of competitors and the strength and how authoritative or how established your competitors are. I'm going to move on then specifically to success factors when it comes to startup SEO, and then offer some tips on how to compete in terms of SEO and driving organic traffic as a startup. So as Craig said, that's me. I'm the SEO growth lead here at Velocity Growth. I'm from Galway, Ireland. I've got 7 years agency side experience. There's lots of other stuff there. Basically, I'm an SEO generalist. I have broad experience across technical, on-site and off-site, and those are some of the companies that I've worked with. Before I get into an introduction to SEO, I suppose I would like to get an idea of, like, you guys and whether you've had SEO top of mind, or if anyone has had SEO top of mind when growing your business or growing your site in particular, and what is if there's anything in particular you're hoping to learn from this course today. If so, I can kind of, I suppose, tailor examples and things like that. So if anyone has any specifics they want to touch on before we get into it, just let me know.
I'm a software developer. I have a sauce business, and I did do some HTML stuff on my own website. And I just started just doing different tags, meta tags, for different searches for like any text that I had or any visual images. And I saw that they were popping up in the search optimization when they actually search for these keywords. But my brand name is Uncurl Sauce. And as soon as you type in Uncurls, you got Uncurls Dip, right? So I'm like, how can I beat Uncurls Dip, right? And that's one of the first things that pops up when you just search Uncurls. So that's something I'm really trying to tackle right now. And I thought, tagging every single picture would help. It did in a sense, because it got me a little bit more elevated in Google search. So I'm just really trying to optimize that operation.
Cool. That's a really good example for something I'll be talking about in a little while. So for Uncurl Sauce, I'm going to flip my location and just check the rankings in the US. So I suppose when someone types in then Uncurls, it's dips. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not going to give it away right now, but we can use that as an example later if you don't mind. Essentially, this happens a lot where websites, companies will have very similar names, and it's kind of a competition for who gets the branded search traffic. I'm assuming, since this says for over 10 years in their bio there, that Uncurls is more established than you. So that gives them a bit of an advantage in terms of they've built up authority or trust in the eyes of Google and other search engines. There are ways we can catch up to them, and that's going to be a big part of the talk later on when it comes to link building and authority for startups. So that's a really good example. Usually when there's a similar brand name, it's not that similar a product, or often when in my experience. So that's a real interesting one in that regard as well. But yeah, thanks. Sorry, I can't. Thanks a million, Tahir.
Tajir, yep, you got it. Tajir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Cool. Anybody else have any specific SEO kind of problems or goals?
I do. So mine's is set up on my website. It's set up for both of my websites, but I just got an alert from Wix that 2 of the components, like component 1 and 2, need to be tweaked, which is pretty easy, I guess, to fix. But I just want to make sure that I'm doing it the correct way and that things match. So I'm learning that when the systems interface, everything should match what they're looking for on the interface side. So the product should match whatever they're looking for, needs to be specific and match. So I think that's probably what my issue is, taking things off, putting things on. But I just got an alert about my SEO because I had it set up, but I don't know how to interpret that data. I'm pretty good with data in general, but that kind of data, I'm not sure like what to do with it and how am I pretty much optimizing for my search for, because mine is kind of unique. So if I actually do it the correct way, I can get a lot more hits on my my website and conversions.
Yeah. So specifically, what message have you got from Wix in terms of the actual alert?
I got a message about continuing the setup and everything else is green, but the first and second thing, and I think it is, I don't know, I'm looking it up right now because I literally got this message like yesterday, the day before, but I didn't mess with it because I knew it would be doing this. Yeah. So it says set the homepage's title for search results and add the homepage description, but everything else is green for Google, except for those two first things. And I'm looking at my screen right now on my SEO checklist on Wix.
Okay, so the homepage title and the homepage description are, they're going to be very important in terms of they're going to give, along with the on-page content of the homepage, they're going to give Google an indication of what that page is about. And obviously you want to pick something that A, people are searching for, but B, also is super relevant, describes what your product is. So generally speaking, you'll have like a few different ways of describing your product or a few different possible ways of describing what it is your product does. So it's a case then of doing some keyword research to look at, right, what is it that, where's the sweet spot? What is there going to be, what are people going to search for? And over time, through brand building, people are going to search for your brand as well. So your homepage obviously is always going to be optimized for your brand, plus whatever that USP or whatever that feature or benefit is that you want to target. And that feature or benefit, you'll just look for the one that has high volume, is super relevant to your product or service. But also at our stage, at startup stage, you're probably going to want one that's not super competitive, because you're not going to be able to rank against really super competitive, like broad terms. Like, for example, I think your product, one of your products is a vitamin or a supplement.
Yes, so one of them is a hemostat. Yes, so for that, I may not be in the number one spot, but I can probably be in the number one spot or number two if I use certain terms that are associated with the vitamin, instead of just saying that it's a vitamin or this particular type of vitamin.
Exactly. So. Exactly. It's focusing on one or two USPs that also have a little bit of volume. And then over time, you can go and, take over the world and target the broad terms when you do build up that authority that I spoke about earlier. So we will get into all of that. Thanks, Dominique. Is there anyone else that wanted to flag anything in advance, or?
Darren, I have one if nobody else does, and it's for your question earlier, which is, we started out as training and we've got this consultancy. How do we know what to focus on? We make most of our revenue from the consultancy, but we want to position the training. Can we do them both, or do we have to decide? That's I'd like to add that to the table, because I think few of us have different offerings.
When they're related like that, this is where, again, so what I'm going to cover is one golden rule of SEO is that for every topic you want to rank for, whether that's a broad topic or a narrow topic, a really specific thing, you should have a page dedicated to that. So having one page and trying to rank that page for, we're an agency and we're also a training, we're also an online training platform. That one page is having to do an awful lot of work there, because back to Dominique's question on that page's title, meta title and meta description, there's only one of those. So one meta title, one meta description, one page. And we're trying to capture two different broad terms with that, as well as our brand name. It gets really difficult, and the messaging on the page gets really messy as well. So it's a case of structuring your site well and having, we would say, like a section for the agency and a section for the training stuff, which is, I'm in the process of getting started on like an SEO audit and work for our own website as well, guys. So one of the examples we're going to use, I think, is doing a bit of keyword research for that, unless anyone wants us to do it for their site instead. But yeah, it's there's questions like that, Craig, that we're still getting our head around because we haven't done this the full audit and we haven't got all the information. But like broadly speaking, it's a case of structuring your site well and having pages for each of the broad terms. And then within training, having pages or sections for each of the types of training, however we want to categorize that. And also on the agency side, having pages or sections for each of the types of services as well. So that's going to be a big part of it. I was just looking at the site today as well, actually, and thinking along those lines as well. Cool. So I'm going to go full screen and get going then. So minimize that. So at a very basic level, just an introduction to SEO. What is SEO? So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's a term for a set of processes aimed at getting a website to appear in search engines for relevant search queries and ultimately building organic traffic through those search engines. By investing in SEO, you're increasing the likelihood of your target audience finding you when they search for things related to your product or service, or also obviously when they search for your brand name, which tends to be quite easy to rank for more often than not. The key thing to note here is that it's a set of processes. It's not one thing. It's not just spamming keywords all over your website. It's not just building links to your website. There's lots of different moving parts to it. So why is it important then? It's important because 53% of traffic to websites worldwide come from organic search or from search that's influenced by SEO, organic results on the Google or Bing or whatever other search engine results page. So the majority of traffic comes via organic search. That doesn't mean it's the most valuable traffic necessarily, but the most traffic, it's by Bright Edge research last year. So organic search results are not the only results on a search engine results page. They often share the search engine results page space, so the Google results page, for example, with paid search results. So SEO, the set of processes we're going to talk about that constitute SEO, they drive organic listings. So regular listings on the Google search results page. However, often for terms that are really high volume, companies will bid on those terms and they'll enter an auction to appear above those organic results in the search results page. Where someone is bidding on a term and you want to rank for it, you're never going to rank above them with an organic result. So that's important to bear in mind. The flip side of that is for tons and tons of terms, nobody's bidding on them. So just for real competitive ones, it's often the case that if you want to appear in the top 3 results on Google, you're more than likely going to have to get into Google Ads and paid search. So quick positives are benefits and drawbacks of each of the 2 types of search traffic. So SEO, search engine optimization, can help your content to rank higher for longer. Organic content found via search engines, it tends to be more likely to be clicked on and trusted by audiences. It's far more, or SEO is far more effective for local searches because as you'll know, if you search for a local business or something in the local vicinity, you'll see your Google Maps appearing towards the top of the page. And that's mostly organic. And it can grow your online presence in the long term. On the flip side, as I just said, organic results will always rank below paid search results if competitors are bidding on the search term. And also, which is the main kind of, one of the main barriers for startups is that it can be difficult to rank immediately in the short term in competitive markets due to lack of authority versus your established competitors. On the other hand, then paid search or PPC, Google Ads, it can offer a way to immediately get your website towards the top of the search results page for relevant search terms. So before you've built up that authority, if you're in an established, a market with a lot of established competitors, that may be your best option in the short term. It allows, and that is my next point, it allows less established websites to compete with more established trusted websites for competitive terms, but at a cost. You're paying for every click. The downsides, it requires you to spend ad money to get your content in front of an audience. And once you stop paying, your ads stop showing. So you're back to square one. Whereas SEO tends to be more long game, where you're building constantly building on the work you've done before, and rankings going the right way if you're doing everything correctly. Over the past number of years, so this example here is a real simple example of a Google search results page from 7 or 8 years ago. You've got paid ads on the top and you've got organic ads on the bottom, and life was very simple then. Now we've got tons of different search results page features that have been added into the mix over the past number of years. So we've still got paid ad. This is a search for CRM software, for example. So this is a real competitive term. So we've got paid search ads at the top here. We've got a knowledge box on the right-hand side here as well. So Google has what's called a knowledge graph, and it pulls information around like very high volume or highly searched for topics, and puts as much information as it can into what's called a knowledge box on desktop results. That doesn't appear in mobile. You've also got featured snippets, and these are organic results, but they require a little bit extra formatting of your content to become eligible for them. You still need to do all the things you would do to rank normally and a little bit more. And you've also got things like people also asked. So this is a quite vague term, CRM software. So Google always tries to narrow down the intent of the search to make sure that the user gets the information they're looking for. So if it's quite a broad or ambiguous term, Google will offer people also asked to say, well, is this what you actually meant? So what is CRM software, and some examples? What are the top 5 CRM systems? Which is the best CRM software? So it's trying to figure out, am I looking for a definition? Am I looking for what's the best one, or whatever else? And there are a ton of other search result features that have been added over the past number of years as well. So it's getting trickier, and it's getting more complicated. So with that in mind, we'll move on to how Google's algorithms actually work. So whilst you often hear the term Google's algorithm, the fact is that there's actually no single algorithm. Google's search ranking is a collection, I should say Google's search information retrieval and ranking is a collection of many algorithms. And on many occasions, Google has said that there are 3 primary algorithms that impact its information storage, retrieval, and ultimately rankings. So these 3 core algorithms are the crawling algorithm, the indexing algorithm, and the ranking algorithm. So firstly, the crawling algorithm, or the crawler. Crawling is the process by which search engines discover content on the web. Crawlers, which is the technology they use to crawl the web and find new content. Crawlers find new web pages by following links on pages that they've already discovered. So linking is really important. If you've got your homepage and you know Google's already found your homepage because it's ranking, and you're wondering why isn't one of my product pages or why isn't one of my service pages ranking? Well, one of the key ways to ensure Google does find that, it seems obvious, is linking to it from the page it knows already. So linking to it from your homepage. Similarly, then sub-products or features of a product, if you have pages for those and they're not getting found, well, they should be linked to from the product page. And internal linking becomes really important when you're looking at trying to ensure that Google finds all of your content efficiently. You can encourage Google to discover your URLs by A, linking to them from other key pages on your site, and B, including them in your XML sitemap and submitting that to Google. So your XML sitemap is a file that you'll place at the root level of your website, and it essentially just lists out all the pages on your website in a format that crawlers and robots understand. And most CMSs like WordPress or Wix or any of the other common content management systems will have a means of doing that automatically. The next stage in the information retrieval process is called indexing. So the indexing algorithm. This essentially involves Google analyzing the content of the page. So it's crawled the page and found it. Now it needs to analyze the content of that page and store it into a specific relevant database. Sometimes Google will discover and crawl your URL or your content, but will decide not to index it, not to include it in its database. For example, when it determines the content on your URL is too similar to that on another URL, or when it decides that the content on your website isn't high quality or the content on your page is too bare. The final step then is ranking. So once a query is entered into a search bar, so I'm on Google and I search for something, search engines will check within their index for pages that are the closest match, that answer that talk about that topic or that query. And they'll assign a score to those pages, all those pages based on an algorithm consisting of hundreds of different ranking signals. Simply put, the more relevant the content, the better the score, the higher the page will rank. So for queries then where many sites have really similar content, Google places a lot of emphasis on expertise or authority. So we'll say, like in that example earlier on, CRM software. If I search CRM software or what's the best CRM software, there's thousands and thousands of pages online that discuss what the best CRM software is. So how does Google decide which of those to rank? Well, firstly, which of them is written the best, which of them answers the question the best. There'll still be a bunch that answer the question really well. So Google might then look at, well, is the user experience of those pages, which of those is the best? And they might still be quite, they might still all be quite user-friendly. So in that case, when it comes down to kind of a tiebreak, Google will often look at authority or trust. And Google infers authority or trust through your link profile. So the amount and the quality of links pointing to your website from other websites. And we'll get into that in a bit more detail. So how search engines work in a kind of a simplified process. You've got your crawler at the start here, crawls the web pages, and then your indexer analyzes the page content and stores it in the correct database within its index. Then from the other side, a user inputs a query into Google, and the ranking algorithms scour that index and look for the most relevant piece of content and rank them accordingly. Any questions on that before I move on to then how to optimize for Google? I think probably a lot of the questions will be answered in this next section, but if there's any questions on that, I can take them now.
I just have one question, just real quick about indexing, because I paid for someone to index my page, and then I got a rejection for indexing, but I think it was for not enough, maybe the quality or the not enough meat or potatoes on that page. So are you going to go over some of that information as well, as far as how do we provide that, or putting together these good landing pages and information through all the pages on your site is going to pretty much satisfy those requirements for Google to go ahead and index and put your page on as part of their Rolodex, if you want to put it that way? Yeah,
so it's a good way of putting it as part of the Rolodex. I think I'd look at that, and if you want to send that to me individually and I can look at it as a specific case. But we will be talking about ways to optimize your content so that it gives it the best chance of being indexed. There's overlap between all these three algorithms and the three pillars I'm about to talk about, in that even if your content is in perfect in terms of, right, I think this content perfectly describes what I'm talking about. If you're in a really competitive market and the internet is flooded with content similar to this or on the same topic as this, then that's where authority will come in again. The kind of Google needs to see that, right, this is worth talking about. How do I know this is worth talking about? Well, these other people trust this website. So there might be a little bit of that involved as well, but I would have to look at it on a specific at a specific level. So I'd be happy to look at that as well if you want to send me on an email, and I'll share my email in the chat. I think I have it at the end of this actually.
I have one quick question regarding sitemaps. How frequently should they be updated with Google, especially if you're in a situation where you frequently create landing pages for various ad campaigns? I mean, the landing pages should be part of the sitemap, I would presume, or not. And if so, then it should be updated each time you create a new landing page. How does that kind of timing work?
So usually your sitemap will auto update depending on your CMS. So if you add new content, your sitemap should automatically add that new content to itself. Okay. And in that case, Google will check your sitemap each time it crawls your website, or more or less each time it crawls your website. So therefore, you don't have to resubmit it every time. Google knows where your sitemap lives. So I would say, just to ensure and check that each time you do add new content, that it is being added to the sitemap. But even more importantly than that, each time you add new content, if you want it to be indexed, then integrate it into your site structure, your navigation, your links. So make sure that if you've got a page, it doesn't just live on its own. It's what's called an orphan page. It doesn't just live on its own with no internal links pointing to it from the rest of the website. And I'll touch on that a little bit again in a while, but essentially, if you've got a page, and the landing page for campaigns is an interesting one, because you say that, oh, you would think they should be in the sitemap. Campaign landing pages sometimes can serve a different purpose than an organic page might, in terms of they're very conversion focused. So for example, if we've got ourselves a page for SEO audits, right? And we want that to rank on Google. I would ensure that that SEO audits page has lots of content about our SEO audits process. It discusses our unique approach to SEO audits. It's got images, videos. It's got links off to relevant blog posts or examples or case studies about that content. And also it's linked to so we've got a homepage, links to our SEO page, links to that SEO audit page, because that's the natural kind of parent-child relationship of those pages. Whereas if we've got a landing page for a campaign where we're spending money on Facebook or Google Ads or LinkedIn to attract people who are, say, take Google Ads out of the equation there. Say we're tagging people on Facebook or LinkedIn and we're offering SEO audits. We're spending money on those clicks. So we kind of want to focus them on the conversion as soon as possible, typically. So therefore you might have a separate landing page just for campaigns. And it would just be a quick intro or a video maybe, and a form, fill out this form to convert or get in touch or organize a call back or organize a 30-minute call via Calendly or whatever it is. So there tends to be kind of a different, there can be a different intent behind landing pages for marketing campaigns versus pages for SEO. So you sometimes can use the same one, and then that's fine. You do want that in your sitemap, but sometimes you might decide, right, this page, the normal audits page, isn't working really well for our paid campaigns because people are going off, browsing the rest of the website and not really converting. So you might say then, right, let's create a PPC or a paid ad specific landing page for that, point all the ads to that. And what you can do is to ensure that then you don't have two pages on the same topic that are getting indexed and competing with each other. You can add a simple piece of code to the campaign landing page that it's called a canonical tag that simply tells Google any SEO value that you're thinking of giving this page, give it to this other one instead. Instead of ranking this page where it's relevant, rank this one instead. So that's a bit of a tangent, but and I will touch on it later.
Yeah, but that's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Cool. So the three pillars of SEO then. So we've spoke about the three algorithms or parts of the algorithm. So the three pillars of SEO that I focus on, that we focus on to ensure long-term SEO growth. So we're not focusing on tactics to trick an algorithm that are going to be punished in the next algorithm update and ways to get around it. We're looking at, right, let's do the things that Google has told us they want us to do, right? So it's around technology, ensuring that your site is technically sound, easily crawlable. Content, ensuring that you've got content for each of the topics you want to rank for, and it's really, really good and trustworthy. And authority, showing Google that you should be trusted. And a lot of that is through inbound links. So the first pillar is technology. So this relates to the technical underpinnings of a website. So they should be optimized to ensure that your site can be easily crawled by search engines. That includes things like page performance optimization. So this is especially important in terms of ranking for every type of website. In terms of crawling, page performance is really important when you've got a huge website, like a big e-commerce website, because ultimately, if it's taking Google ages to crawl and load your pages, it's going to give up at a certain point. So you wanted to find, and every time Google crawls your website, you wanted to find everything as quickly as possible. Logical site structure and navigation. So this comes back to internal linking, and this is one thing that is often overlooked in SEO, and I'll talk about it in more detail in the tips later on, but internal linking and site structure is really, really important. XML sitemap creation and optimization, as I just said, and robots.txt file configuration. So there's tons of information about robots.txt file out there online. Essentially, it's another file at the root level of your website, so yoursite.com/robots.txt. And it essentially has it allows you to send instructions to search engine crawlers as to where they can and cannot crawl on your website. Okay, so you don't want to, essentially, you just don't want to be blocking search engines from crawling certain parts of your site that it should be crawling. So it's important to have that configured correctly. By default, it often is, but when developers or someone goes messing with it and trying to do maybe trying to block a staging site from Google, but then suddenly they don't change that rule when the site goes live, then that can cause issues. So that's an important thing to keep on top of as well. So technical SEO has traditionally been predominantly concerned with that crawling algorithm, but it's beginning to also affect the ranking algorithm nowadays, in that Google has released 3 UX metrics based on your page performance called Core Web Vitals, and they're now part of the ranking. They're now part of the ranking algorithm as well. So essentially, you get a little reward if your pages load really quickly, if they're really stable, and if they work as expected, essentially. The next pillar then is content. So when search engines can crawl all your site's content, so your site's technically sound and Google can crawl it, it doesn't mean that they understand it. So this is back to your point, Dominique, earlier on ensuring that your content gets indexed. So you should optimize your on-page content to ensure that Google knows exactly what it's about and increase your chances of ranking for relevant search queries. So on-page content optimization includes ensuring there's a single clear topical focus for your page. And then your title tags and your meta descriptions are optimized to focus on that topic. Your heading tags, where it's relevant and where it reads naturally, focus on that topic. Someone mentioned image alt tags earlier. All your images on your website, you can add what's called an alt text tag. And these are for people who use screen readers or people who generally people who use screen readers, really, and it will describe the image. So ensure that you add image alt text tags, and more often than not, they're naturally going to focus on the topic of your page anyway, because your images will be of your product or of your something related to your service. And ensure that your content is authoritative, trustworthy, and written by subject matter experts. And that's what's known as EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. And I'm going to talk about that. It's the last few Google algorithm updates have been quite focused on that concept of EAT. So I'll talk about that in a bit more detail as well. So content is concerned with the indexing and, again, the ranking algorithms, but traditionally content would have been about ensuring that Google understands what the content is about. The next pillar then is authority. So all other things being equal, so for example, your site and your competitor's site have similar content and similar technical performance, Google will turn to authority when deciding which of 2 similar pages ranks higher. Links from other trusted websites indicate to search engines that your website is an authoritative or a trusted source. So if you have sufficient links from other trusted websites, your site will be seen as trustworthy in search engines, and it will rank your and search engines will rank your content higher in search results for relevant queries. So in other words, authority is predominantly concerned with the ranking algorithm. I'm going to quickly talk about startup SEO success factors. And then we'll have a quick coffee break, I think. So from my perspective, from working with startups, I think there's 4 key success factors when it comes to SEO for startups. The first one is your niche. The second one is your competition. The third one is your resources. And the fourth one is your expectations. So your level of success and speed of results when it comes to SEO will come down to these 4 factors. So what do I mean by your niche? So in some specific niches, when it comes to SEO, the juice may not actually be worth the squeeze. So Craig touched on this yesterday. He spoke about where sometimes there is a lot of demand for whatever your product or service is, And in those cases, SEO is great. You just have to hoover up that demand. But in cases where there isn't tons of demand, you might be creating a brand new product that we never knew we needed. Well, if we never knew we needed that product, then no one's really probably searching for it. So therefore, SEO is trickier there. It might not be your first port of call when it comes to digital marketing. With products like that, you might choose to focus the majority of your resources on other channels first to create awareness and demand before focusing too much budget on SEO, particularly if you do have a limited budget. Although when it comes to technical, you can take care of a lot of the technical aspects of SEO when you're actually building your website. But your niche plays a big part in whether or not you're going to have SEO success and whether or not that's going to be quick or more of a slog. Success factor 2 is your competition. So in other cases, you might come to market with a product for which there's already really high demand, and your product may be an improvement on what's already available on the market, but you're entering a market with loads of really highly established competitors that have been around for a long time. Established companies have the advantage of having built up authority or trust with search engines already, largely through building up trusted links to their site over the years. So links for trusted web or for big brands naturally just come. It's easy for them. So a quote here from Mac Dudayev from InsureChance: one of the things to be wary of, especially in the beginning, is going after high competition keywords. You simply will not outrank websites who have high authority. So it's best to go after lower competition keywords. When your site then acquires higher domain authority, you can start to go after those higher competition keywords. So I think that sums it up perfectly. Early on, if you are in a market like this, and you've got tons of really established competitors, you need to, as we spoke about earlier with Dominique, focus on the specific USPs that are unique to your product or that your competitors aren't necessarily focusing so much on. And also then try to create more top of funnel content around answering we've got our product pages, but we can also talk about what problems this product solves, pain points your customers might have, and different content that is relevant to your target audience. And that comes back to just knowing who your target audience is quite well. Success factor 3 is resources. So SEO is a cross-functional discipline. It requires investment and teamwork across a number of different areas. So that includes SEO expertise, web development, content, PR, and marketing. So if you want a well-rounded SEO strategy and roadmap, like I can't do that on my own as an SEO an SEO expert. I need the buy-in of web developers to make changes to the website. We have a content team here as well, or it might be a client's content team that we need someone who can write the content that I'm recommending and write it really well. PR comes into it as well, digital PR, and that can be really helpful in terms of building awareness of your product, service, and your website, but also building links along with that awareness. So if you're getting mentioned in certain websites online, you want to make sure that they link back to you as well. So that's where kind of SEO and PR overlap, and marketing more broadly as well. The marketing team helps a lot. So by trying to spread a small budget across traditional marketing, paid social, paid search, PR, it's not guaranteed that your SEO program will be robust enough to deliver results in the short to medium term. So in situations where you do have limited resources and you have to pick, it's definitely worth ensuring that you have a strong foundation for a future SEO program, particularly by ensuring that the technical foundations of your website are SEO friendly. So make sure that your site is built and you've got your best foot forward from the start. You don't have to go back and start rebuilding and restructuring things when you do start focusing on an SEO strategy. Essentially, yeah, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel when the time comes to invest in an SEO strategy. Success factor 4 is expectations. So will SEO drive lots of traffic and sales immediately? Probably not, especially for a startup. Will SEO work on its own? As I said, probably not. So highly competitive terms will have competitors bidding on them via paid search ads. So if you're just focusing on those, you'll never truly appear at the top of the search results page. In such cases, if you want to get the majority of clicks for those terms, you'll need to pair paid search with your SEO efforts. So if you think about it, if someone searches for whatever the term is, again, we'll say SEO agency for startups. If we have a page that can rank for that organically, and it's towards the top of the organic results, it's still below 3 paid results. So let's get one of those paid results as well by engaging in PPC or Google Ads. So before setting out in your SEO journey, you need to understand your niche, your competition, search demand for your products and services. There's no point just taking a stab in the dark with it. So I'm going to move on to how to compete, and that's the last part of the presentation. So I think we can go for a quick coffee break now. I can take any questions prior to that if anyone has any. Cool. So the final section, and I'm going to try to fit in a few exercises in here as well if we can, is how to compete. So SEO for startups, how to compete. So as a startup, SEO is almost certainly going to be challenging and going to take time. You can ensure that you minimize the challenges and expedite the process by following these steps. So number 1 is understand your competition. Number 2 is build your website with SEO in mind. Number 3 is carry out keyword research and mapping. Number 4 is just create great content around those keywords or topics you've identified. And then boost your authority through link building. So the first step is understanding your competition. Understanding your competition is crucial for a few reasons. It gives you an understanding of what it will take to beat them, i.e. how to rank above them for relevant terms and to drive relevant traffic to your website. So if you can benchmark where your competitors are at, then you know where your target is. What we need to understand is we need to understand what other companies are ranking for the key search queries or keywords that you know you would like to rank for. Understand then what other keywords that you'll know you'll more often than not know you have certain competitors or who you're competing with. You also want to know what other keywords that they're ranking for other than those that you've originally thought of. And then understand the strength of your competitors' link profiles. In other words, their domain authority or their website authority. Number 2 is a really important one, and it's kind of number two on the list, but it's obviously the first part of the first thing you're going to be doing is it's building websites. So having SEO in mind at the very start is quite important. Whilst you might not have an SEO strategy or the resources to put in place an SEO strategy, you will want to make sure that your site is SEO ready. So ideally, SEO should be involved from the start of the website project in the planning phase. From a technical build perspective, there are 3 fundamental considerations to ensure that your site is SEO ready. The first is site structure and internal linking. The second is site performance, so page speed and core web vitals. And the third I've left out. The third is actually your top level domain. So whether your domain name and whether it's .com or another country variant, because we're primarily US focused here. I left that one out. .com tends to work quite well. If anyone has any questions around competing in other markets, just feel free to get in touch with me directly. So the first one here is site structure and internal linking. So Googlebot, which is Google's crawler, and other search engine crawlers find new content, as I've mentioned a few times, by following links from pages they've already crawled on your website. You can make it easier for Google to quickly and efficiently find and crawl all of your pages by ensuring that you have a logical site architecture and internal linking structures to match that site structure. So what does a logical site structure look like? So what you want to do is make sure that you've got, obviously your homepage is going to be the key entry point to your website. From there, you want to have links more often than not via a primary navigation menu, your top level menu, that link off directly to each of the key areas, sections, or categories of your site. So one category here might be products. One category here might be services. One category might be blog posts. You could have a category on case studies. You could have a category on industries that you serve or use cases. It depends on your product, but these kind of high level categories of content on your website, you want your homepage to link off to a category page or a sub page. Within those categories, then, for example, this is your products one here, we'll say you'll want to link off to subcategories. So within products, you might have 3 different categories of products. So you might have, if it's, for example, a hair products website, you might have equipment, you might have shampoos, you might have other treatments, right? And then within those subcategories, that's where your individual lower level pages live. So you'd have the specific products in the case of products. In the case of blog posts, for example, you'd have your home page, it links off to your core like blog landing page. And then that blog landing page links off to your categories of content. So you might have content around news about the company. You might have content about our company in the news. And then, sorry, that's the same thing. In our case, for example, with Velocity Growth, we would have categories around SEO, a category around paid search, a category around social media marketing, a category around retention, and different categories. And you come up with those based on your content plan, which we'll come to in terms of you figure out, right, we've got tons of different content. Let's just brainstorm and categorize this and decide what are the key categories of content that we do write about and create your menu based on that. A logical site structure has two key benefits for SEO. Firstly, it ensures that crawlers can efficiently find all the pages on your website without working too hard. And secondly, it helps to spread link equity throughout your website. So each link to your website has some value. So link equity, if it's from a really high profile, well-trusted website, it'll have more link equity than one from a relatively small directory. But they all have some link equity. So if, for example, you get a guest post or a press mention on an external website, and that link points to, let's say, page A, page 1 here on your website, well, then that page gets some of that equity or some of that authority. And also your overall domain gets an extra little boost of authority in the eyes of Google. But you can do more with it as well. If you ensure that that page that has got valuable links off to other pages, you're making sure that those other pages get a little bit of that value as well. It's spread throughout your website through internal links. So if you have one page on your website that has tons of valuable links and that's ranking well, but you're wondering why aren't other pages ranking well that are related to this, we'll make sure that that page that does rank well and that has lots of link equity, make sure that you've got links pointing to other pages from that one, and that should spread that value around more evenly. So a logical site structure, why does it matter? So this is an example of a client of ours that we improved the site structure and improved internal linking at this point here, which was the October 2021, and within the next 3 months, we saw our organic traffic almost double. And that was through internal linking at scale. Essentially, what we did there was we added a secondary navigation menu within a certain section that linked that just essentially mass produced links to make sure that every related page was linked to each other. The second then technical aspect that you want to make sure you get right at the stage of building your website is site performance. So why is site performance important? Site speed is a ranking factor. Google may, as I already said, give up on crawling if your site is too slow. That's only an issue for massive websites, but it can be an issue. And core web vitals are a ranking factor. So core web vitals, I've got a little graphic on the right-hand side here. These are 3 usability metrics that Google have integrated into their ranking algorithm as of last year. So what Google does is it measures these 3 metrics, and if they all get a good score, you get a bit of a ranking boost. So largest contentful paint is one of those. That just essentially means how long does it take for the largest element on your page to load. And if that's taken really, really long because you've huge images or huge JavaScript files that are unnecessary, then you're going to take a hit on that. First input delay then essentially just measures how long it takes for an action to happen, for something to happen as a result of an action, like a button click. So if you click open here, or if you click open here, for example, how long does it take for that file or new page or document to open or download? If it takes too long, you get a little bit of a hit there. Cumulative layout shift essentially measures the visual stability of your page. So as your page loads, you don't want elements moving all around the page, confusing users essentially. So if your page is visually stable throughout the users as it loads and as the user views it, then you won't have any issues with that metric. So best practices when it comes to site performance: ensure your pages are quick by optimizing images, render blocking JavaScript, minimizing server response times. So server hosting comes into this as well. If your hosting is fast, your server response time is fast, then your obviously pages will perform better. Implementing browser caching, so Google doesn't have, so your browser doesn't have to reload the same things over and over again if it's already been to your website. And essentially anything else that improves your performance. So a lot of the times, a lot of this comes down to, outside of the images, comes down to just if you're on WordPress or if you're on Wix or if you're on one of these other CMSs, just ensuring that the theme that you choose, because essentially your theme, most of the elements of your page are pre-built by the theme. Make sure that you choose a theme that doesn't have loads of bloat, doesn't have unnecessary over-the-top functionality or widgets or movement or things like this. Make sure it's just as light and crisp and simple as possible, and it will tend to improve your performance. So this is an example of a client of ours where we updated the WordPress theme to a theme with less bloat. Actually, this is a BigCommerce, sorry, but it's essentially the same thing. It's a theme we updated to one that was quicker, faster, had less unnecessary JavaScript, less unnecessary scrolling, product suggestions, things like this. And you can see that from that point on, took a little bit of a hit as Google was getting used to it, and then climbed up in terms of organic clicks to 1.5 times, almost, 1.5 times within a matter of weeks. The next really important thing after you've made sure that your website is technically sound is you need to start deciding then, right, what do we want to rank for and what content do we need in order to rank for that search query. So keyword research and mapping. So if you're not creating content that actually suitably answers your target audience's search queries, then no amount of technical on-page or link profile optimizations will drive relevant traffic to your website. So a golden rule, as I mentioned earlier, is that a single web page should be laser focused on one specific topic, for example, a specific product or service. If you mix two or more different topics on a page, it becomes incredibly difficult to optimize the page for all topics and ensure that it ranks in a high position for queries relevant to all those topics. So if you've just got one services page on your website that lists off all your 10 different services, it's going to be hard to rank that specific page for all those 10 different services. Whereas if you built out 10 separate pages and went into detail on each of those services, you're far more likely to rank for those. So another quote here from Corey Haynes from Refactoring Growth. So do thorough keyword research in the early days. The biggest mistake I see is that startups wait a year, 2 years, even 3 years to start optimizing for specific keywords when they could have been doing that the entire time. In terms of how to do keyword research, there's a million different guides online as to how to do it, and there's lots of different nuances and different ways, slight variations of how to. But the ultimate goal is to identify keywords or topics that are A, relevant to your product or service offering, B, likely to be searched for by your target market. So even if you have highly relevant content, if no one's searching for it, it's maybe not an SEO play, it's maybe more of a paid marketing play. And number 3 is not so competitive that it would be impossible to rank for. So this comes down to your authority versus your competitors. So that's difficulty. So relevance, volume, and difficulty. So you create content then dedicated to those keywords or topics that hit that SEO sweet spot of being relevant, pretty high volume, people are searching for them, and not so difficult that you're going to be ranking behind the major players for the foreseeable future. Intent is also an important factor to consider when it comes to creating content for a particular keyword or topic. So again, for example, we have lots of different tools that can tell us the intent of a specific keyword search. Just going on Google and searching for the term yourself is actually the best one. So like, for example, the search query earlier, CRM software, the intent there is not clear. Like what exactly does the user want to buy CRM software? Does a user want to compare CRM softwares? Does a user just want to get a definition of what CRM software is? So very often Google will, sometimes we saw that people also asked earlier, but very often Google will decide based on which results are being clicked the most and interacted with the most, will decide actually this is the type of content that people are searching for. We're pretty sure this is the type of content that people are searching for, and that's the type of content that ranks. So very often with things like that, it will be listicle type content or comparison. So like a guide to choosing the best CRM software, or compare the best CRM softwares, or top 10 CRM softwares. So therefore, if you want to rank for that page and you're trying to optimize your homepage, saying, right, we are a CRM software, so let's optimize our homepage for CRM software. And then you're going, oh, why aren't we ranking? Well, it's because Google sees the intent as something else. So what you need to do then is create content that's more in line with the intent of the search. So we can get into that in a little bit as well. But there's 4 broad types of keyword intent. One, informational. So the user wants to get a specific answers. So things like how, why, what tutorial. So like how to fix a flat bike tire. There's commercial intent. So they're investigating a purchase, but maybe not necessarily ready to click the buy now button. So stuff like best, review, compare, product or service name. So best inner tubes for road bikes, for example. And then transactional, complete an action. So it might be prepended by buy, cheap, for sale, online, download, sign up, register, quote, real transactional terms. For example, buy tire tubes online. And then navigational, go to a specific website. So it might be any site name or any site or any brand name. So yeah, it's important. And like these are real obvious intents when they include words like how, why, what, like best, review, compare, like buy, cheap, for sale. But sometimes users just don't use any of those terms and just say, for example, like we said earlier, CRM software. And in those cases, Google goes, right, well, I know best. This is the intent that people are looking for. So there, in those situations, you kind of just have to go with what's ranking if you want to rank, or else go with content for more specific terms like buy CRM software, or register for, or the navigational register for whatever CRM it is that you sell. So I think we have time for, we have time for a very quick keyword research exercise just to show the basics of our process for keyword research. Now, this keyword research process for us takes a long time. We're going to do a very basic version of it. But I think we said, Dominique, if you want, we can. So I had prepped here that we would use ourselves for keyword research, but I can do keyword research for one of your sites, Dominique, real quickly, if you want to go with that.
That's fine. You want me to put the site somewhere, or?
Cool. So what I'll do is, do you want to just share the site with?
It's in the chat, but I'll add it again for you to have it on the side, because I think I added it really early on. Our great moderators like to peek at our stuff here and there, so I like to give them something to look at.
Thank you.
Cool.
Here in Ireland, Galway. Where's the Galway, Ireland? Okay.
Yeah. NPO. So the first thing we do as part of our keyword research is just get to know the website, get to know the client, get to know what they actually think they should be ranking for. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to delete all these and just ask you, what do you want to be on Google for? When I search.
What do I want people to search for?
What do you want to appear for? What searches do you want to appear for?
Virtual medical clearances for cosmetic surgery. It sounds crazy and it sounds long, but that's very that's usually what they look for when I'm looking at how people find me. It does
Okay.
teach me, I do look at how people locate my website in a sense, if that makes sense.
Cool.
Sometimes they
Uh,
search me directly because I'm not a new business to them in that community because it's a niche business. But sometimes they may look up virtual medical clearance, or they might look up NP on demand. Exactly.
So virtual medical clearance, cosmetic surgery, virtual medical clearance, cosmetic surgery clearance online, NP
Yeah.
on demand.
Yeah.
Have you got any more that you?
You can look up FMLA, because I do their forms when they have surgery, and a lot of times they will look me up for that, but I don't know if that's what comes up normally. So I don't recommend people look up that, because that's, the government has that all
Okay.
down. You see, that's
Okay.
a department that
Yeah,
would be more of a federal thing when you could actually go get the form.
Gotcha. Look, so we're gonna say those are the 4 for now. We'll keep this pretty small. I'd also get the client to say, right, of these, if there's a long list, which are the more relevant and which are the least relevant of these? I think these are all pretty on the nose, right? These are all pretty core.
Yeah.
So I would say relevance is probably 1 for all of these. What I would do then is I would just look at the website and see what's actually on the website already, or what do we have pages for. So we've got pages for, we do have your supplements on this site, even though they're on the other side as well, right? So
Yeah. They started,
I-
but I made them have their own. I can take them off of there if they don't need to be on there either, because that was my intention.
okay, well, let's leave those out for now.
Okay.
So cardiology clearance, we didn't have in there. Same day medical clearance, we didn't have in there.
Yeah, I have a lot. There's medical clearance with lab order. There's different types of medical clearances under that medical clearance page. Medical clearance with EKG order, medical clearance with lab and EKG order, whatever medical clearance options you can have, they're all separate on that page. Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
On this page here,
Yeah, if you look at right and left, the arrows go over right and left, and you can see all
Gotcha.
the, but those are all visits that are encompassing sitting with me doing a
Yep.
virtual visit. They just cost different things.
Gotcha. And
different
they've all
amounts.
got individual pages, which is a good thing. So I'm going to use a couple of those. I'm not going to use them all.
Okay. It does help.
In normal circumstances, I would use all of these, but we're going to try to keep this brief. So
Yeah, sure.
we've got some more. So those are more keywords, and the source is the website. And you want to give those a relevant score in terms of like how important they are to you in comparison to the others. Are they still?
Yeah, I would say the medical clearance or EKG order would be a 1. If from important, cardiology clearance online would probably be of least importance, because they don't usually look for that. They just found out that I do that once they get to the website. Same day medical clearance, probably a 2.
Cool. Okay. And then what we'll do is, do you have a competitor that you're aware of that this could be the tricky one for you? Do you have a competitor or where else would?
The only
People go for this.
one who would be a direct competitor for me, which really she isn't, doesn't have a website, and she uses
Okay.
Cash App for her business. But if you're looking at telemedicine wise, I would say maybe ZocDoc, but they don't do exactly what I do, but they do close
Okay.
to what I do.
Okay. Well, let's take them for example in this example, right? Because
I was
we
gonna say
may.
ZocDoc, because they do
This is them, right?
yep, that's exactly who they are.
And what we'll do is then what we need to do is find out what they're ranking for, right? There's a million
Yeah.
different tools that you can do this with. I use SEMrush. Now, SEMrush is a paid subscription. I, off the top of my head, don't know what the free subscription provides, but I will look for some free alternatives. I haven't used any of the free alternatives in a while. I know there's one. I'll follow up with all you guys on what you can use if you're looking for a free alternative. I know
If it's good enough and I can figure it out, I'll pay for it.
Cool. So we're looking at zodoc.com and we want to see what keywords is Zodoc.com getting traffic from, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to be much broader than you, but this
Yeah.
is our process, right? So this is that all gets taken care of eventually. Okay. So we're going to look at all the keywords that drive traffic to their website. So that's all them here, and I have them sorted by the amount of traffic they drive to the site. So I'm going to filter this list a little bit and say, right, let's not include keywords that are branded because we can't compete with those under brand. Going to exclude.
Darren, you've got a typo there.
Yeah, thanks, Emil.
No problem.
And then I'm also going to say, right, let's just include keyword that gives them some traffic. So over 1% of their traffic. Let's see what that narrows us down to, because they're ranking for 2 million keywords, right?
They bought every keyword. I mean, is there any left? You left for the little man, little person?
So look, I assume their services are much broader than yours, right?
They are very broad, and they offer every type of they would offer every type of online provider that you can see online if you're sick. So they are very broad.
Okay. So in that case, so I'm going to use these keywords, right? I don't think these keywords are relevant to you.
No, they're not.
Let's go through the process anyway.
Okay.
Because we don't really have much time to get more nuanced, but this will explain the kind of process anyway. So now we've got all these keywords. I'm going to take the main ones, add them to our competitors list here. So in here, and the source is competitor website. And we would look for some other more closer competitors as well, right? And we can do that by feeding some of these keywords into some of these tools and telling us, right, who is actually ranking for these. I
don't think anyone is, because no one does what I do, believe it or not.
Okay.
That's online. So I feel like that's a good thing for me. But
yeah, for sure.
Learn how to master the SEO keywords and kind of do that, then I'm doing okay with that. But people, they do what I do, but no one knows it because they stumble upon it once they get on the website. It's not something that they specifically advertise for that I can see.
I got you. So look, we're going to say that these are pretty much all irrelevant, right? So that speeds up what we're doing. What we'd also do, which we're not going to do in this case, is we would, if we have access to our customers, ask them, right, what are your pain points? So this is where we can write content that isn't specifically driven towards our specific products, but maybe issues that they're having or further up the funnel, things that they're searching for. Okay, so customer pain points, and we would add some of those in there, give them relevant scores. If you've got Google Ads running, you can look at, right, what are we already attracting traffic from through there? So what we would do then, we're not going to log into your Google Ads here, but we would just go into your search terms report, download that, pop them in here, give them all a relevance score. And in Search Console also, Google Search Console, look at, right, what are we already getting traffic for on our own website, and pop them in here, okay? So ultimately then, we copy all these into our master list here. And we've only got a few in this case, so this is fine, but usually this could be into the hundreds. Okay, and so we've got relevance. We now want to look at, right, what else did we say we wanted to look at? We want to look at the volume for each of these and the difficulty. And difficulty is just a measure of how competitive the search results page is, okay? So we copy these again, and again, we go to one of our tools that will tell us what the search volume for these is. Now, we can use Google Ads for this. If you've got Google Ads running, you go into the keyword planner. I don't at the moment, so I'm going to use this tool again. Yeah, so Google Ads Keyword Planner, pop your keywords in and it'll give you historical volume metrics from there. This is going to do the same thing for me. It essentially uses an API into Google Ads. So SEMrush, I'm going to call this MP on demand. Add those keywords in here. go to the United States. This is going to tell us tons of information about these keywords for the United States market. And so the key metrics we're interested in here, we'll take a minute to load, is volume, keyword difficulty, and intent. So intent is NA. So we're going to update these. You don't have to do this in Google Ads. We're just going to update them to make sure we've got up-to-date info. Again, you can get keyword volume from Google Ads. Keyword difficulty, you can also get a metric that's similar in Google Ads in that report, that's called competition or competition level. So what we're going to do is export this list.
Boy, you're good with that thing, I tell you.
It's second nature at this stage, but we've got a list of all these keywords. With a lot of this info we don't need. What we do need is we want to know the volume and the keyword difficulty for each of them. Okay, so we copy those. We get a new tab over here. Okay, so some of them have volume, and we can manually pop these in if there's only a few. So we know that the volume here is for NP on demand and cardiology clearance. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And that the cardiology clearance has higher volume than others. So it might, although it's maybe not what you focus on so much. So
And Darren, we're okay to go over. I've been chatting with Jen behind the scenes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
Cool.
I'm saying let's take our time. If you want another 5 or 10 minutes,
cool. Perfect.
We can always
Perfect.
move into the last half an hour anyways.
Yeah. Thanks, Emil. Thanks, Emil. So what I'm going to do is we can use all sorts of fancy VLOOKUPs and things here. I'm going to just copy our scores into these columns here, okay? So A to Z. A to Z, copy those in because we've got the same ones. Okay. So we've got a relevance score, we've got volume. I'd usually convert that volume to a volume score. So the highest volume gets a score of 1 and the lowest gets a score of 3. So obviously they're getting 1s, they're getting 3s. Difficulty, we're not going to assign scores. They just kind of tell us the higher the difficulty score here, the more difficult it is to rank. Obviously, the more competitors are there. So maybe the more longer term play, if we have 100 keywords here and we're trying to distinguish which we go after first, the lower difficulties we want to go after first because they're the quick wins. The higher difficulties we might need to build up. We still create content for them, but we have to build up our authority first. Okay. So I'm going to hide that.
People are actually looking for my website by name because I am NP on demand.
Yeah, exactly. And that shows a level of brand awareness, which is great and really helps.
No brand training to this is actually nice to see that they are looking me up by name because they know me for something instead of just looking up something and getting results back.
Yeah. So what we tend to do simply is say, look, if a keyword is really relevant and really volume, then and has high volume, then it's a priority. So we take an average of relevance and volume, and that we land at the priority scores. Okay. So high difficulty for now. So now what we're saying is anything with a high priority score, look, this would usually again be 200, 300 keywords.
Yeah.
So it allows us to identify what is the content we should go for. In this case, we should go for it all because we didn't look at much. We didn't get any competitor content here that was super high volume or that was in any way relevant. Usually you will. So you'll have tons more here and you'll be able to then look at, right, which of these keywords kind of are variants of each other or mean the same thing. They can all be mapped to the same page. So essentially we just assign a page to all of these here then. So that's the home page. And these pages all already exist. If they didn't, we have a new. Yeah. If they didn't, for example, there was no page for the AKG order, that would tell us we need a new page, and that's where that fills our content plan. So this example, given the nicheness of your site and the limited time, it's more to show the process, right? But I think what does probably help there is that that, right, the NP on demand has some volume. So obviously in that page title, right, that homepage title, have your brand name. And then we've said, I think, look, because we can do some more, you can do some more keyword research of this, but out of these results, I would say just use virtual medical clearance for cosmetic surgery in that page title as well. So it would be NP on demand - virtual medical clearance for cosmetic surgery. Okay.
Okay.
And then your meta description would also just talk about you've around 160 characters to talk about those terms as well.
Include those terms in the meta description.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And I would say make sure on that cardiology clearance page that you've got cardiology clearance in the meta title and the meta description as well. So we can actually check that. Look, I'll move on back to the deck, but again, any further questions on that, obviously.
That was amazing. Pull down. Like, thank you so much, because you just made that so much easier for me in particular, just because of the kind of business I have. I think it will definitely help me out a lot. So thank you so much.
And look, I would refollow that process with just more detail in terms of, if you are in a real niche position like you are, just that client list of keywords has to be longer, just everything you can think of, and then narrow it down. Like, the idea there is, like, I would usually start with 400 or 500 keywords, and it's a case of narrowing it down and hitting those sweet spots. So like that, from a purely process perspective, that's fine, but like, generally speaking, you get a lot more out of that.
Okay.
So the next stage then is creating content. So you've identified all the keywords you need to rank for, and you've mapped, right, does a page exist for this already, or do we need a new page? So you'll end up with a list of existing pages that should be optimized for a specific keyword or group of keywords. And that's what we've just said there, right? Go back to your homepage, optimize it for those two terms. Go to your cardiology clearance page, optimize it for those terms. Those are obvious examples, but as it gets more complicated, those get more useful or more valuable. And also a list of required pages that should be created for specific keywords or groups of keywords. So we didn't come across any there, but you will very often, always in fact, come across keywords that you've identified as high volume and high relevance, but you don't actually have a dedicated page for. So that feeds into your content plan. So now we need to go about creating and or optimizing content. And there are a few specific elements that you should be that should be optimized towards your target keywords. And we mentioned those already, but writing SEO friendly content is no longer just about keyword stuffing. You should aim to write the most insightful, trustworthy content on the web for whatever topic it is that you're writing about. Now, on product pages, that's more difficult to show. But if we're talking about guides or blog posts or advice, especially in the area of healthcare, money, medical, anything like that, you need to show Google that you're a trustworthy source. This is trustworthy content. Otherwise, it won't rank. And I'll touch on that in a bit more detail. So firstly, the basics of writing SEO friendly content is we've identified those keywords, right? So you've got those keywords you want for those pages. So make sure it's in your title tag. We've said that already. Make sure it's in the opening 100 words of your content as well. Make sure it's in your meta description. We've already said that. Ideally, make sure it's in your page path, your URL. Homepage, ignore that. Well, for NP on demand, you already have that, but we don't want to change our homepage URL. But in inner pages, if you've got keywords in the URL, particularly in blog posts, articles, that can help. Your image alt text tags, which I've mentioned already, they should be accessible via Wix as well, or CMS, whatever CMS you're using, and your headings were reasonable. So your H1 essentially on your content, and that just goes through all of that and pointing out where exactly all of those are. So H1 tends to be the big heading at the top of your page, your image alt text behind your image, obviously your meta description, meta title. I'm going to quickly talk about expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. And this is more, as I said, it's a factor that comes into play when you're writing blog content and article content, but more specifically, it's something that's carefully considered by Google for YMYL content. So Google defines certain content as YMYL, and that means it has something to do with your money or your life. So news, government, law, financial advice, shopping information, medical advice, or information on people. Anything that could cause reputational damage or could cause people to make decisions that will hurt them in some way. So expertise refers to the creator of the main content on the page. Are they an expert on the topic? Do they have credentials if necessary to back that up? And is this information available to read on the website? So it's all well and good that you know you're an expert, but that needs to be shown on your website and shown to Google and shown to users as well. Authoritativeness refers to the main content creator, the content itself, and the website. Authoritativeness means having generally recognized authority. People know you, know your background, and look to you as a leader in your industry. They accept you as a good source of information. So it's showing Google that you are authoritative and trustworthy.
Does that mean for me that I put my credentials or my name with my credentials somewhere on my homepage?
On your website, not necessarily on your homepage. I would say you're a
FNPC, or do I write family nurse practitioner out, or just put the acronyms?
If the acronyms are commonly accepted, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
I'll touch on a few more points where you can link it all together as well.
Gotcha.
Trustworthiness part of EAT refers to the main content creator, the content itself, and the website again. So all three. Being a trustworthy expert and source means that people can trust you to provide honest, true information that is accurate. So this is all quite vague in a way, right? This is from Google's own documentation. This is not a specific ranking factor. This is Google uses AI and machine learning to review your content and looks for signals that tell it that your content meets all of these kind of human rules. So there have been lots of tests done that kind of give us an idea of what it is that Google's algorithm is looking for, though they don't tell us specifically. So how do you make your content easy? So these are, as a result of lots of different studies, some tips. So make sure your content is written by an author that is genuinely an expert on the topic. Prove that by linking from an author bio on the content piece. So again, this is not for product pages, this is not for your homepage, but if you're writing articles, advice, or blog posts, have an author bio on that at the top, and link that author bio to an author's profile page on the site, which describes who they are and links to other online profiles, previous work, or accreditations. So show Google, this was written by this person, and this person also has this accreditation, or you can find them all. You can also find this person here on this medical directory or in this whatever else it is. Use author schema.org markup to indicate to search engines who the author is and what their credentials are. Schema.org markup is a type of code you can implement on your website, right? That essentially speaks to crawlers in a format that they understand, and you can tell this is the author. This is her credentials or his credentials. This is where else they appear online. This is a journal they appeared in, anything like that. Authoritativeness, again, proving an author's credentials here via outbound links to their other profiles, along with the schema.org markup. So will inbound links will also help here from other trusted domains to both the content piece and the root domain in general. And trustworthiness, show Google that your content is trustworthy by including reliable sources to any key information or claims that you make. So if you're making a claim, especially if it's around something to do with medical or money or whatever else, link off to a trusted source that backs that up. I have an example there, but I don't want to take up too much time here. So when I do pass these slides on to you guys, that's a really good example of a website that does these EAT kind of signals really well in terms of the author bios, the author pages, linking off to their other profiles online, etc. Final step, we're nearly there, is building authority. So Google's early ranking algorithm was based on the concept of PageRank, developed by and named after co-founder Larry Page. PageRank works by counting this is from Google's own documentation, but it's archived. PageRank works by counting the number and quality of links to a page to determine a rough estimate of how important the website is. The underlying assumption is that more important websites are likely to receive more links from other websites. Now, this PageRank algorithm is no longer specifically this simple or this straightforward. And it was abused by black hat SEO, essentially, where people would just start spamming links to their website and climbing up the rankings in Google. This is 15, 20 years ago. The importance of inbound links is related to the quality rather than the quantity of links. In other words, it's better to have only a few high quality links than 20 poor quality ones. So that's the direction things have gone in since then. The authority challenge then for startups is that on the left here is your authority, or link juice as authority is sometimes called. And then your established competitors have their glass full of link juice or authority, okay? So you have a brand new website, brand new domain, you'll likely be starting with 0 links and 0 authority. More often than not, you'll be competing for search traffic with more established businesses who have websites that have built up links and authority over the years. So you somehow need to catch up with your competitors' domain authority by building high quality, trusted links to your own website content. So the first step here is to actually measure your authority in some way, or your page rank. So unfortunately, Google doesn't tell us the page rank or authority score of a given domain anymore, or a given page. It used to, you could see it in your browser. So we must now rely on third-party indicators. So there's a few different third-party metrics that try to mimic Google's authority, understanding of authority as best they can. They're in no way perfect, but they're good yardsticks to see how you compare to your competitors in terms of the strength of your link profile, or the strength of the links pointing to your website. So you have Moz domain authority, Ahrefs domain rating, and SEMrush authority score. These are all quite similar. We use Ahrefs the tool to look at this, and this is an example of comparing two domains side by side. Ahrefs also have a free version, which I think this report is available in. So if you compare, for example, Nike.com and Adidas.com, you can see that Nike has a slightly higher domain rating and has tons more referring domains. So tons more websites actually linked to Nike than they do to Adidas. So 138,000 websites versus 75,000 websites. So you can see there that it does have an impact. And based on this, you would expect for very similar content, Nike to outrank Adidas. So when it comes to link building, we usually would do an in-depth link profile audit of a website and say, right, what pages on your website attract the most links? What pages on your competitors' websites attract the most links? What websites link to your competitors? And what types of links are you getting? In the absence of that, some obvious places to start are via outreach and via creating content. So outreach is reaching out to other websites to ask for links. Content is creating the types of content that tends to attract links. So outreach, your partners and your network, your investors, your agencies, anyone that's already in your network, if you can offer them a testimonial on their website to link back to you, or if you can get featured in a case study on their website if they've done some marketing or something else for you. Or directories is another one. If you're a local business, get listed in local directories online. Digital PR is just anytime you've got news to tell and you're doing some PR, if you are creating a press release, ensure to include your website link within the main copy of that, and ensure to just brazenly ask for a link to your website in those communications as well. Sponsorship, if you've got the money for it, sponsoring relevant events and sponsoring relevant mainly events, or it could be associations, it could be teams, it depends kind of what niche you're in. Generally speaking, if you sponsor something, you get a link from their homepage, or you can ask for a link from the homepage as part of that sponsorship, and that's sending value back to your website. Guest posting, so posting on other people's websites in exchange for a link back. Contributing to podcasts also helps a lot. So if you can get on relevant podcasts, the beauty of podcasts is that it tends to be spread out over a number of different platforms. All those platforms of websites, if you get a link into the description of that podcast, it goes across 4 or 5 or 6 different platforms. Then creating the type of content that tends to attract links. So high quality expert content, easier said than done, but if your content is really good, it's kind of a case of build it and they will come. If you amplify it on social yourself as well, it gives it a better chance. If your content's really, really good and you have something important to say, people are likely to link to you. Probably easier than that is useful downloadable resources. So if you know a pain point that your customers have, create a downloadable resource for them. And even more difficult again, and more costly, is useful interactive tools. We see some B2B SaaS companies with their entire link profile is built on useful interactive tools, calculators, estimators, things like this. So for specific ideas and inspiration, you should review your competitor sites with an SEO tool like Ahrefs, Moz, or SEMrush, and identify where it is that they're getting links from and what kind of content is attracting links for them. And then essentially see what you can replicate. If you find that all your competitors are being linked to from 3 or 4 or 5 of the same websites, reach out to those 3, 4, 5 websites, say, look, I do this and I do it even better. Can you mention us in this article or directory or whatever it is? An example of link building effectiveness is 2 high quality links to a new blog post. Over 2 months here, we see the blog post was created in June. We got a link in July, a link in September, and traffic from, let's say, June to October was up by 1,000 sessions per month. So these things do have impact. They affect rankings. So we don't have time for an authority exercise, unfortunately. But I would advise that if you do want some inspiration or don't know where to start when it comes to link building, right after that checklist, you can also just look at your competitors, look at their top referring domains, top pages by links, and top links, and use a tool like Moz or Ahrefs. Ahrefs has got a free version that will allow you to do a lot of this. So to recap, I'm sorry for going over time. Identify what content you should include in your website through detailed keyword research. Make sure Google considers your pages for relevant searches by optimizing on-page content. Ensure the content is integrated into your website in a logical site structure. Ensure Google can quickly crawl all your content by making sure your page performance is excellent. So make sure your core web vitals and your page speed scores are really good. And to compete with higher authority, more established websites, you need to put in place a plan to build quality inbound links to your domain. So that is everything for me. Thanks very much for listening.